Hello there folks, it is Toby from TIJ Music, and today, welcome to another album review. Today it is time to review the 1975 album by Pink Floyd. That is, of course, Wish You Were Here. The second of really four golden records by Pink Floyd. Real golden era, classic era. Started with Dark Side in 73 and really, of course, finished in 79 with The Wall. Before Dark Side we had Obscured by Clouds, Medal, Atom Heart Mother, etc. But Dark Side really started that era, and The Wall definitely finished it. After that we had the final cut, which was effectively a Roger Waters solo record, and then of course the band Pink Floyd Take 2, if you like, were cut up from there, and then we had Pink Floyd Take 3. But today we're going to talk about 1975 and the Wish You Were Here album. Now, brilliant album. Is it one of the best of the four? I think we'll debate that in another video once I've got round to reviewing all four of these. But if that's something you'd like to see, let me know about that down in the comments. But apologies for the shirt if you not an AC/DC fan, apologies for that, but I do love AC/DC and Floyd together. So, into the background of the review then, of course. Wish You Were Here. It was one that Pink Floyd had a massive pressure to produce, because after the huge success of Dark Side, ultimately it was, right, you've got to follow that up now, and Waters, Gilmour, Mason, and Wright were kind of going, how on earth do we do that? To be fair, they did it brilliantly here with Wish You Were Here. And it is an absolutely fantastic album, because Dark Side brought Floyd to, it's just an audience that they never had before. That's proven by the sales and the fact that a lot of people now, retrospectively, know the stuff from Dark Side to The Wall. It's only the real fans that know stuff before and after, I would argue. So, after performing the Dark Side tour, that was kind of 72, 73 and 74, they went on, I think it was a French and English tour, and they toured sporadically in 1974. And they did show still some of the Dark Side stuff, but they had 3 new compositions which they were kind of messing around with, or meddling around with, to throw the Pink Floyd pun in there. And that was Shine You Crazy Diamond. That was came to know as the first classic track on the album. And then we had what was called Raving and Drooling. Apologies about me looking over there. Sometimes I've got my notes over there. Raving and Drooling, and You've Got to Be Crazy. The second one was turned into Sheep, and the third onto Dogs on the Animals album. You can watch my review of that on the channel. I've already got a review of that out. So, the album was moulded around Shine You Crazy Diamond. There's themes of isolation, remembrance almost, and just disinterest and getting away from and being cut away from the music industry. And also that Roger Waters felt that the camaraderie in the band that was Pink Floyd was now gone. It was almost him, and that it was very much an us and them argument. And God, am I getting some puns in about some of the Floyd tracks today. But the critique of the music business, that was definitely trickled in here with tracks like Welcome to the Machine and Have a Cigar, and that was definitely put on more so with the next album, Animals, and just a critique of society in general. And this album shows a move back to pre-Dark Side, effectively, with less track listings, but longer albums in terms of longer compositions on those single tracks. There were clear disagreements on the album. The likes of Shine You Crazy Diamonds, Waters and Gilmour disagreed on Inherently, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But now let's talk quickly about the album cover. Unfortunately, I haven't got it to hand because I haven't got a record. I'd love to buy the record of Wish You Were Here, but much like most of the Floyd collection, they all cost an absolute bomb, which I'm sure is absolutely worthy, but I'll get to it at one point, so I will probably gradually buy the Floyd albums. But the album cover, which is in the top corner, so you'll see it anyway, it's absolutely picturesque. Basically, it shows a business deal with one of the men quite literally being burnt, and it is a fantastic picturesque cover, probably the most harsh Floyd cover I've ever seen, but a brilliant one at the same time. There was an alternative one, but I'd kind of scrap that and only treat the one with the white background as the proper cover, which of course that points to the critique of the music business, but in my view also points to the isolation of, you look at the man being burnt, and also points to the isolation of people, that sometimes you don't know what you're getting into, and that is quite a big message on the album as well. And also shows a lack of togetherness and single-mindedness, and that's something that in this album, and particularly on Animals, that Waters focusing on. You can draw a lot of similarities between this and Animals, I feel, and the direction that he's going is clear from here to Animals, I would argue. So the album was released on EMI here in the UK under the Harvest name, as the albums, I think all of the albums since Ummagumma in 69 had been released on, and 600,000 UK sales, and interestingly it was the first album that Floyd released on Columbia in the US. They felt that Capitol Records, that they produced on before, didn't give them enough support, I found that out with this great book, actually, The Legend of Pink Floyd. I bought this off eBay, along with 3 other books. That includes this one, which I'll also use at some point, Pigs Might Fly, The Inside Story. And then what have I got up here? Inside Out, Personal History of Pink Floyd by Nick Mason, and The Making of the Dark Side of the Moon. Picked these up for about £8 for the 4, so great bargain there. And I was reading inside here, because I looked on Wikipedia and I couldn't really figure out why they broke from Capitol Records and went to Columbia. Great double-page spread here about Wish You Were Here. It's an awesome book, actually. I'd really recommend it. It's nice pictures in here, but the text is also as meaningful. Kind of goes from the start to the end of Floyd, which is really nice because a lot of books go from talking about Sid an awful lot. I feel that's what I'm finding while I read the Dark Side of the Moon book at the moment. Anyway, that's enough of that. But they felt that Capitol Records didn't prioritise them enough with Dark Side, felt that they promoted other artists too much. So this was released on Columbia Records. And interestingly, this move now gave Floyd the rights to their own music. So you'll notice from this to, if you like, the Final Cut, particularly with the Roger Waters era, that it's all licensed to Pink Floyd Music Limited. But 6 million US sales, and it topped the charts in both the UK and US. So absolutely awesome stuff. So now let's talk about, because the background and the tracks do kind of get into one quite a bit, so we'll kind of talk about the background and the tracks together. So onto the album, we're going to talk about the first track, which is Shine On You Crazy Diamond, which for me, it's a 10 out of 10. It is definitely one of my top 5 Pink Floyd songs. On any which day, it's usually in the top 3, comfortably. None and this one teeter from going to first to second, and they swap quite a lot on my personal first and second list. It is an absolutely awesome track. It's a clear nod to Syd Barrett, the previous vocalist, of course, in the band before he was kicked out and replaced by Gilmour, with SYD on the title Shine On You, Crazy Diamonds, so you have that clear Syd in there. And it's just clear, the lyrics are fantastic. Remember when you were young, you shone like the sun, and now there's a look in your eyes like black holes in the sky. Just absolutely fantastic lyrics. Now, interestingly, I was talking about these disagreements earlier. The band, and most specifically, I can use this book for that, Gilmour and Waters had clear disagreements about this track. I was reading about that as well. I don't know if that was in this book, I'm not quite sure. No, I think it might have been on Wikipedia, this. But basically, he got the 9 parts Waters had, and they split it into 2 tracks. Gilmour was outvoted on it by 3-1, so effectively what happened was 1-5 was the start of the album, then you had 6-9, so it bookended each end of the album. But it's an incredible track. It says on there, and tell the story about my first listen, which I will very quickly. Now, I probably got into Floyd 10-12 months ago now. Listened to Dark Side first, and then I thought, I'll listen to the next album then, Wish You Were Here. Loved Dark Side, and I thought I'll listen to Wish You Were Here. And I saw that the first track was 13 minutes long, and I thought, oh god, here we go. And obviously the instrumental bit goes on for so long, and I'm thinking, is it actually going to kick in here, or is it just an instrumental? But of course, that was me being pig ignorant back then, because the instrumental part is the best part. And about 4 minutes in, when it gets the kind of drums coming, do 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 do, I was thinking, wow, you know, goosebumps on my arm and everything. And that song live is also fantastic. And it takes about 8 minutes, and the build-up and the tension to the vocal parts is absolutely fantastic. I've never heard that in a track in my life. It's brilliant. It is just such a 10 out of 10 song. It is probably my favourite Pink Floyd track. Personally, I do prefer just parts 1-5 in isolation compared to the whole thing, because I do feel 6-9 drags on a little bit, but it's still great from Richard Wright, Rick Wright is prioritised quite a bit on that 6-9 recording. He's quite a bit of keyboards on that, but it is an absolutely fantastic track. 26 minutes in overall length, with a single edit only being 3 minutes. So I read about this single edit and I thought, what on earth's going on here? I think it was a B-side in Europe to Welcome to the Machine, I think, and I listened to it earlier, and it's very weird. Basically, it's kind of, I think it would be categorised as part 4. So from when the vocals come in to when we have the sax at the end, and the sax is absolutely fantastic. But it's kind of part 4, which is a little bit weird, but, you know, they got music out to new audiences, which I'm not going to complain about. And of course, another interesting story about this song is that Syd Barrett himself entered the studio whilst this was being recorded. Pardon me, sorry. So I will get a picture in the corner of what Syd Barrett looked like at this point. It's quite a harrowing image, really. And I think Roger Waters was really upset by this. He was pretty much in tears by this point, and the band never saw him again. They were never said that they saw him again until he died, unfortunately, in '06. And it's just an unbelievable moment, and adds to the album so much, and really, I think, pushed Floyd on to release this song and, of course, this album. But a 10 out of 10, Shine You Crazy Diamond, an absolutely awesome track. So second up, we've got Welcome to the Machine, which follows on quite nicely from Shine You Crazy Diamond. The track ends and then goes in quite nicely, fades in quite nicely to Welcome to the Machine. So this one's kind of concerned with the machine being the society or potentially the music business. Depends which way you interpret this. And I should have really said a disclaimer earlier. These are all my interpretations, Don't go, oh, well, it's not about that. Yes, you can think what I think. You can think what you think. I think what I think. And ultimately, we all come out with different interpretations. And with Floyd's music being so full of depth, you can easily come to different interpretations. But as I say, it's concerned with the machine being society or perhaps the music business. It's great acoustics and well-worked synthesizers in this track. It's awesome. And for me, the synths are quite machine-like in my head, quite futuristic, and really builds the track up for me. And really, no doubt in my mind, this is influenced by the success of Dark Side of the Moon, as this and Have a Cigar is from Roger Waters. The lyrics are just so influenced by that. And Gilmour sounds quite different to how he usually does here. It's difficult to describe how he does, but it's great. I really enjoy that. But ultimately, it's not as good as Shine You Crazy Diamond. It's a great track. I love listening to it. But probably wouldn't put it in my top 15 of 20 Floyd tracks. It adds to the album brilliantly, but this one gets an 8 out of 10. So now we move on to Have a Cigar. I've actually written the most about this, although this gets the weakest rating. Ironic, that is. But it's a 7 out of 10 for this one. We'll start with the rating. And weakest track on the album, in my view, although I've put in brackets, there's only really 4 to choose from. The vocals supplied by Roy Harper here, which for some reason I got him mixed up with Roy Wood from Wizard, and I couldn't really see Roy Wood singing this, to be honest. Could you imagine? I just have that vivid image of I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day, the video to that in my head, and I think, no, that and Floyd just doesn't work. You hit a brick wall there. Again, another good Pink Floyd pun, goodness me. But, Gilmour apparently tried the vocals, and the band weren't all too impressed with it, but according to this book, Pigs Might Fly, Mark Blake thinks it's more to do with the fact that Gilmour didn't support the views or didn't think so aggressively about the music business than Roger Waters did. But interesting bit about the 2 tracks, Welcome to the Machine and Have a Cigar here. I'll let Roger Waters sum it up, really. Where does it start? So, people are very vulnerable to their own blindness, their own greed, their own need to be loved, explained Waters. Success has to be a real need, and the dream is that when you are successful, when you're a star, you'll be fine, everything will go wonderfully well. That's the dream, and everybody knows it's an empty one. The song is about the business situation. I think this is more about Welcome to the Machine, but the song is about the business situation which I find myself in. One's encouraged to be absent because one's not encouraged, paying attention to reality. And very interesting. Here we go. Have a Cigar continued the theme, offering another sarcastic jibe against the airheaded nature of the music industry. Quite right, really. It's an interesting track. I think that the fact that Roy is not Roy Wood, Roy Harper's on vocals takes away a little bit from this track for me, and it's more of a simpler rock-infused track. It doesn't really do it for me. The other 3 tracks, Shine On, Welcome to the Machine, Wish We could listen to them all day, but there's just something about Have a Cigar. I've listened to it maybe 5-10 times and just can't quite get into it. Just a bit more about this song. So one of the lines is, which one's pink? And that's quite an interesting nod to when they had a supposed meeting with an executive, the band did, and he asked, well, which one's pink? Because the executive must have thought that Pink Floyd was an artist, and then Pink was the vocalist. And I put, although ironically here, of course, Pink was the name chosen as the man who was played by Bob Geldof, the musician, in the Wall movie. And Gilmour is quoted as saying is in 1992, we did have people who would say to us which one's Pink and stuff like that. There were an awful lot of people who thought Pink Floyd was the name of the lead singer, and that was Pink himself and the band. That's how it all came about, so it was quite genuine. So yeah, it was quite genuine. I quite like that line. But it's very aggressive about the music business as a song, and that everyone expects results. Now, I think Roger Waters feels a lot differently about the music business to what some people did. Of course, some people are just greedy and want results, and again, this really capitulates why the whole album came out, because I think, is there a line or something about, yes, we're just knocked out and heard about the sellouts, you've got to get an album out, you owe it to the people. Well, Pink Floyd weren't really too enthusiastic about Wish You Were Here because the cracks were already starting to show within the band, the disagreements within the band, which would just intensify over the next few years with Rick Wright's drug troubles, Waters going out on his own, trying to exert more control over the band, and everyone just feeling more and more uncomfortable as Roger Waters tried to take control of the band. So I just feel with this one, the vocals just take away slightly from the Floyd feel, possibly why it's not so good. So, as I say, 7 out of 10 for this one, but it's such an interesting album, and it's such an iconic album in the Floyd catalogue, because it does show those themes so well in that what's happening in society at the time, their views, and also what's happening within the band. That's really an important message from the album as well. So finally we move on to the most known track from the album, I'd say, the album title track, which of course is Wish You Were Here. It's about isolation. Some think it's a nod to Sid, but personally I think it's about isolation and absence more than just in general, rather than just about Sid. But I genuinely think it's quite a moving track. The lyrics are quite poignant, and I think that Shine Your Crazy Diamond's more of a remembrance, but I think we can all relate in some way to some person that we would relate Wish You Were Here to. I'm sure you have your own views on that, but I certainly do. I when I listen to that, I think, yeah, I can relate that to that person, absolutely. Ultimately, though, although Wish You Were Here was the name of the track, and although the band might have thought it was about Syd Barrett, Roger Waters didn't want to be there. He didn't really want to be there in the recording, but supposedly none of them did. Roger Waters said, well, none of us wants to be there, but the problem is with Roger Waters, I don't know, I just feel like he was isolated from the band, and it was kind of his own fault almost at sometimes, because with his music, Waters wants to send a message with the likes of the final cut when he got control of the band, kind of saying, up yours Thatcher, and apologies, but up yours Thatcher, and with Animals calling out people like Mary Whitehouse and all that sort of stuff. And I think Gilmour just wants to play music, and Waters was so infused about being so aggressive towards people, not caring. And this album is so explicit towards people in the music business and people in general, basically going F you. I won't mutter the words, but F you. And yeah, it's quite an interesting one. But this track, the acoustics are particularly nice. It's just a sublime track, really. It's such a synonymous one with Floyd. Shine On Your Crazy Diamond, also so synonymous with Floyd, to fan favourites when it comes to concerts. And just fantastic tracks. And those are probably the highlights of the album. Welcome to the Machine, Have a Cigar, I'm not so keen on. You could even say they are albums tracks if you even dared. But yeah, good tracks nonetheless. So with those taken into account, those ratings taken into account, we have a rating of 9 out of 10 for the 5 songs. I've given parts 6 to 9 of Shine On a 10 out of 10 as well. I think that's only fair. But it's a 9 out of 10. It's an awesome album. Even just Shine On Your Crazy Diamond, listening to that does it for me for the whole album. So I suppose the question is, where does it compare to the other 3 Golden Age albums? Well, I think that's a question I'll have to answer in another video. I mean, just talking about it a little bit in brief, I feel that, I don't know, I think it all comes down to opinion and what you like listening to, because some people want different things out of Floyd. I think that The Wall is the most complete album. It's a fantastic story. Animals is the most aggressive album. We love that. Dark Side is just Dark Side. That's all there is to it. And that this is very much so different to the rest, but is poignant in its own way. So it's whatever you view it as, really, but I think there'll be definitely a chance at some point to talk about comparing the 4 albums. But that's really it for today's review. I hope you guys enjoyed. The most work I've probably put into review, to be honest, because it's so deep, Floyd's music, and you really have to understand the interpretations, etc., before you compile a review of this sort of stuff. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Going to be plenty of reviews coming in the coming weeks. I've probably been a little bit inactive recently, but just plodding along through the reviews as I fancy, and I thought this afternoon, let's sit down and listen to Wish You Were Here and get that one ticked off the list as a review. As always, if you've got any suggestions for music reviews, top 10s, whatever you want to see music related on the channel, feel free to leave them down in the comments. I can only say no, can't I? But thank you very much for your company. I appreciate you stopping this long. There's plenty of other reviews for you to go and watch on the channel. There's that review of Animals I talked about earlier. There's AC/DC stuff, more rock stuff, and other top 10s, plenty for you to go and watch the channel, and some of those will be on the end screen there for you to go and enjoy. But thank you very much for your company today. I've been CIJ Music. Thank you for watching. Make sure to leave any comments about Floyd, Wish You Were Here, whatever the hell you want, but yeah, keep it related to Floyd and we can have a great conversation down in the comments. Thank you for watching, folks. I've been TIJ Music, Toby from TIJ Music even, of course, and I will see you all later on. Goodbye for now.